What's up guys, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on your Polaris RZR XP 1000 or XP Turbo. The Stage 3 kit is the premium option from Tusk. It contains our best-selling products that are going to make your new machine stand out and look good. You're also going to be getting added protection and rider comfort. So with that being said, the items that come in the kit are your folding glass windshield, your pivot folding mirrors with A-pillar mounts, the forced aluminum roof, the rear glass window, and the plastic lower door inserts. The install process is straightforward, so let's go ahead and jump into it. On the top of the visor, we have two screws we need to remove. I'm going to use a T40 Torx bit to do that. These are threaded into a barrel nut. We're going to pop that out. Now with that J-nut out of the way, I'm going to drill this hole bigger. We just need it big enough for that 8mm bolt to go through. So now we're going to take the bigger J-nut that came in the kit. We're going to slide that into place. You can use a pick or a small screwdriver to center that up. We'll go do the same steps on the other side. Now we're going to set our roof in place to align our clamps that we're going to install. So when we set this in place, we're going to use the two M8 bolts and install those into the J-nuts that we just installed. Next, we need to install the roll cage clamp towards the back of the roof. This flat section is going to face the roof, so I need to remove this bolt and washer from it. We're using a 5mm Allen. Then we can remove the back side of the clamp along with that rubber strap. Then we'll take the rubber strap, we'll put it around the roll cage. Then we'll set the top side of the clamp in place. Then we'll attach the back side, and we are going to leave these bolts a little loose right now so we can adjust it. And then we'll install the bolt and washer on the top. So with everything loosely installed, you do have a little bit of adjustability. So get that where you want it, and then you want to tighten down the 4 bolts on top of the roof. Then we'll go underneath and tighten down the roll cage clamps. The next step is to install the foam tape underneath the roof. That's going to help reduce vibration and noise. So we did have to install the roof to get the clamps in the correct position, but we do need to temporarily remove it. So we're just going to remove these 4 bolts on top and remove the roof. So we've got the roof off. I want to make sure that the roll cage is clean before we install the tape. So we're just wiping it down with some soap and water. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the foam to length and stick it in place. Now we're going to reinstall the roof and tighten down all 4 bolts. Now we're going to get the folding glass windshield ready. We're going to start out by installing the bulb sill across the bottom. We have the two shorter pieces on the side. The longer piece goes right in the middle. And if you need a tighter fit, you can pinch this together. We're just going to center the longer one on this flap. And you want to make sure the bulb sill is facing in towards the cab. Now with the center piece in place, we'll move on to the sides. And if you have any extra material hanging off the end, you can simply chop it off with some side cutters. The next step is to set up the brackets for the vent door. So we're going to start with bracket A. There's two empty slots where the rest of these holes, they have rivets through them. So right in the middle, we'll take the M5 bolts that came in the kit. We'll go through the front of the windshield, through the bracket, and then install the M5 nuts on the back side. And all of the hardware we're going to install right now, we're going to leave it all loose until everything's assembled right here. So after that, we're going to take vent bracket B. We're going to use some M6 bolts for that. These button head bolts will go through the front side again. M6 nylock nuts on the back side. Now we can grab bracket C. We're going to take another M6 button head bolt. We'll go through that hole in the bottom. We've got the arc that's going to be facing towards the top of the windshield. We're going to go through the hole in bracket B. And this is on the inside of bracket B right there. And then on the outside of bracket B, we're going to install the M6 nylock nut. We'll take the M6 knob. We're going to go through the slot in bracket C. We've got a friction washer on the back side. Then we'll thread that into bracket A. And once you have everything loosely assembled, we can go back through and start tightening everything down. And as you tighten everything up, just make sure that the vent door opens and closes smoothly. And this bolt right here, you just want to go till it's snug and then back it off maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8 of a turn. Now we need to prep the filler panel. So the side with the tab sticking out, that's going to face the outside of the machine. We're going to set that face down. We need to apply the supplied foam tape to the back. So we're going to go across this flat section first, and then the two sides right here. And now we can install our windshield wiper. So to do that, we're going to remove this plastic plug from the center of the filler panel. I'm just going to use some pliers to squeeze on that. There's a couple tabs that need to press in. Then we're going to disassemble the wiper handle and mounting bracket. So I'm going to remove the small nut first. We're going to get the handle out of the way. Now for the mount, you just need to remove one nut, one washer, and one grommet. And when you install this, I like to have the windshield wiper as low profile as possible. So I've backed this other nut all the way out. I'm going to come in from the front. We're going to reinstall our grommet, a washer, and a nut. And we're just going to snug them down. We just need to compress that rubber just a little bit. And you're going to use two 17mm wrenches to do that, or if you don't have two, you can use a crescent wrench on one side. After that, we're going to prep our windshield wiper. So on the wiper itself, we have two tabs on the side that if we press those in, it's going to allow us to pop this tab up. We're going to go through that with the wiper arm, and we're going to hook onto this. There's a little tab we're hooking onto. Once that's in place, we can press the plastic piece or plastic cover back down. We've got a plastic cover for the wiper arm mount. that's going to attach to the wiper handle. So I'm going to go through the backside with this. I like to line up the handle with the wiper arm. And we have a bunch of teeth right here that need to line up with this. And this thing is spring loaded, so when you press this on, it's probably not going to sit perfectly flat, but we're just going to use this small nut that we took off to get that to flatten out. So with it all lined up and in place, we're going to tighten that down. And with that nut, you just want to go till it's snug, just because that's a small post, you don't want to snap it off. Now over at the machine, we need to install a few brackets to install not only the folding glass windshield, but also our mirrors. We're going to do those things at the same time. So we're starting on the passenger side A-pillar. We've got the roll cage clamp. This flat side is going to be facing out. And we're going to install this just below the stock visor, and we're going to keep it loose so we can make adjustments. So with that sitting in place, we are going to remove that button head Allen out of the front of it. Now we're going to remove the stock bolts going through the lower section of this A-pillar. We're going to use a 15mm socket to do that. We're not going to reuse these bolts, but the nylock nuts on the backside we are going to reuse. So this bottom bolt, it's kind of hard to pull out. I'm just going to use an alignment punch to pull that cage forward, pull that out. Next, we're going to start with the mirror mount. We've got the longer bolts that came with the windshield. We'll be using these instead of the bolts that came with this. But there are some washers that came with the mirror mount, so we will use those. So we've got a washer on the longer bolt. We'll go through the cage and into that nylock nut. Now I've just barely started these bolts into the nylock nuts. Before you tighten them any further, you need to install this longer bolt that's going to go into your mirror. Now we're going to take the right side windshield mounting bracket. We're going to slide that into place, and we've got the two mounting bolts. We're going to leave those slightly loose for now so we can make adjustments later on. Now for the mirror, we're going to install one of the serrated washers that came with the longer bolt. We're going to remove the shorter bolt from the mirror itself. Then we've got the spacer that came with the longer bolt. Another serrated washer. And then we're going to thread the mirror into place. Once you have it where you want it, you can go ahead and tighten that bolt down. Then we'll do those same steps on the other side. Now we're going to set the filler panel in place and thread those two bolts that we removed from the clamps back into them. So with both of those bolts loosely installed, we're going to adjust the filler panel for the best fit against that stock visor. Then we're going to tighten these front bolts down first and then the back sides of the clamps. Now we're going to prep the hand knobs. So I'm going to put the washer on first and then the rubber grommet. And from here, you're going to want to have a friend help you set the windshield in place. And then once we have that in place, I'm going to install the hand knobs in here. So what we need to do now is line up these 3 holes with the 3 mounting holes on this bracket. So we're a little ways off. We could just raise this up in these slots, but for us, it's going to be a little bit better if we raise the whole feeler panel first. So we're going to loosen up these clamps and raise that up. Now for adjustment, you want to adjust the windshield so you have a good seal with that bulb seal across the top of the hood. Once you have this where you want it, you want to take a look through these holes into that bracket and see where it needs to be, up or down. For ours, it's going to be in a little bit lower position. So now that we have it where we want it, we're going to fold this up and we're going to tighten those 2 nuts down. Now I'm going to fold the hinge down and install the M8 by 20 millimeter button head bolts with the nylock nuts on the inside. And to help me get everything lined up, I am going to take out those hand knobs one at a time. With the 6 bolts loosely installed, we still have a little bit of adjustability. So center this up and then go ahead and tighten that hardware down. We're just using a 5 millimeter Allen and a 13 millimeter wrench to do that. The next step is to install the standoff brackets. Now to do that, we've flipped our antenna around so it folds forward. Then we're going to remove both hand knobs from the windshield. And I'm going to fold the windshield down. I've got a roll of tape on the hood just to hold that up. And then to get the standoff brackets in the right position, we've got the passenger side bracket right here. I'm going to take the knob, screw that into there. You want to center that knob up in there. So we have the same gap all the way across the bottom right here. And then we've got this knob centered up where we want it. And then I'm going to mark both of those holes. And then we'll drill them out using a 1/4 inch drill bit. Then we can take the M6 by 25 millimeter bolts, put those through both of the bolt holes, and then we have the nut plate we're going to thread those into on the back, and we're going to tighten these down with a 4 millimeter Allen. After that, we'll do the same steps on the other side. Now before you drill this other side, you want to make sure you have the same distance underneath the bracket as the other side as well. Moving on to the rear window, we're going to install the flap seal for the safety harness slots first. So again, with this stuff, if you need a tighter fit, you can simply squeeze this together and then press it into place. Now we're going to take the long piece of flap seal, we're going to install that across the bottom. And if you have any left over, you can use your side cutters to trim that off. So with this rear window sitting how it is, we need this bulb seal so it's facing down. So I'm going to press this on the remaining 3 sides. Now we need to install the P-clamps onto the roll cage. So this flat section, that's going to be facing inside the cab. We've got one of these below the crossbar on the roll cage right there. We've got one above it. And then we've got one above that seatbelt mount. And then we're going to have 2 across the middle, but we're going to wait to install those until we have that rear window sitting in place. So we'll go ahead and set these clamps in the same places on the other side. To set the rear window in place, we've already removed our seat. So we're going to set one side in first. There's a little notch by the seat belt. We'll rest the window around that area first. And then as you push the other side in, you're going to have to pull the seat belt to the side to get enough clearance. Now to get the P-clamps installed in the top 2 positions, again, this flat section is going to be facing inside. We're going to line it up with the slot in the top of the window. And then we're going to slide this underneath the foam tape. Then we'll do the same thing for the other side. Then we're going to install the 8 bolts and washers from the inside through the clamp, and we've got the nut on the back side. Once you have all those loosely installed, you'll make your final adjustments and tighten everything down. Moving on, we need to install the lower door inserts. So we're going to have to remove the inside panel and the door skin. Now on some machines it's going to be a T27. On ours it actually is a T25, and we've got just a little plastic rivet right here. We're going to unscrew that first. I'm just using a Phillips screwdriver to do that. And just keep in mind when you remove the inner cover, you're not going to remove every bolt, just enough to get this off. And then on the inside, to get that door skin off, we've got 2 more bolts holding it on. Then we're going to take the lower insert, we'll insert these 2 tabs in the slots, and then we're going to install the M8 bolts, and we're going to leave all of these loose for now. We're using a T45 bit to get these installed. Now we're going to take the bracket, we're going to install an M8 bolt through it. We'll go through the door, and on the back side of the door, we'll install an M8 nylock nut. And then the 2 mounting locations on the bottom of the bracket, we're just going to use an M8 bolt and thread those into the insert. Then we're going to get things to where they're almost tight, but just loose enough where we can make some adjustments Then from here, I'm going to shut the door and adjust this for the best fit against the machine, and then tighten everything down. Once the insert is in place, you can go ahead and reassemble the doors. Now to install the triangle panel, we're just going to set it in place. So to get the plastic triangle in place, you're just going to push it in there, and you'll notice there's some cutouts right by the bars. Those need to sit against the bar. Once you have it in the correct position, you're going to use the C-clamp and one of the screws that came in the kit. We're going to use a T30 Torx bit to screw this into place. And we'll do the same thing for the two clamps on the side. And then we'll do those same steps on the other side. Now that we have the lower door inserts installed, we can reinstall our seats. And that's how you install the Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on your Polaris RZR XP 1000 or XP Turbo. If you need one of these kits, you can find them on our website. We offer free shipping on orders over $75. And if you have any questions about this install process, leave those down in the comments below. And if you want to see more helpful content like this, subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.